On today's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, the Florida Panthers get yet another win to extend their postseason winning streak to 6 games and now have taken a commanding 3-0 series lead over the Toronto Maple Leafs.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Sunday, May 7th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez. You can follow me on Twitter at MondoMan12. Follow the show account on Twitter at LO_FLA Panthers. You could also follow the show on Instagram as well at LO_FLA Panthers. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And now we are on Sirius XM, so you can get the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast on the Sirius XM app. So, Cats fans, I got to ask you guys, how are you feeling? Because I'm feeling really good. I'm sure all of South Florida is vibing right now. It's been a great weekend overall in our region. You know, not South Beach, by the way. Tell your national media friends that FLA Live Arena is a good 1 hour with traffic from there. But the events that happened this weekend, the Miami Heat winning, Formula One being at Hard Rock Stadium, and the Florida Panthers now with a commanding 3-0 lead over the Toronto Maple Leafs in a game where they never led until the overtime winner by Sam Reinhart, a 3-2 overtime winner. And now this team is undefeated in overtime as well. But we also have a special guest here on the show. And to break down this 3-2 win over the Toronto Maple Leafs, he's been here on the show before, but this is the first time that I've had him just one-on-one outside of a roundtable edition of the show. He is from the Hockey Writers, Joey Ganzi. Joey, welcome back to Locked On Panthers.
Very, very, very happy to be here today.
Yeah, I'm happy that you are here as well, Joey. It's crazy because the Florida Panthers, they were getting used to playing on the road over the last few weeks. This was their first home game since Game 6 of the Boston series, and the Panthers, I mean, their resilience, their time spent, and then when they came back from Toronto, no practice on Saturday, and Friday. It was a travel day. Practice back on Saturday. They come back to FLA Live Arena, where the fans knew that it was going to be buzzing when they knew that this team was going up 2-0. And according to our friend Josh Licht, former host of Locked On Panthers, he told us that it was an 85-15 percentage in favor of the Panthers at FLA Live Arena tonight. And the Panthers, like I said, not leading until the game winner by Sam Reinhart. And the resiliency of this team, going down, responding again, and then getting that game winner in overtime. It's just the continuous commitment to forecheck, to breaking it up in the neutral zone as well, and the Panthers making the other opposition having them create mistakes as well, and making the opposition pay.
And this team has just been resilient, probably even since the first round. There's something about this team that's clicking. I don't know what it is. It could be Paul Maurice, it could be Keith Tkachuk for all we know, but this is something I haven't seen from this team in a very, very long time. But you said yourself, they're forcing mistakes. They're breaking up the neutral zone. They'll go down a goal or two here and there, but they're like, we're not out of this. That's fine. Throw everything you can at us. We'll take it. It's fine. Every single night they've been showing resilience, and there's just no stop. There's just no stop to it.
And think about how this game started with the Panthers. The multiple odd man rushes by the Toronto Maple Leafs. Matthews hit the post, and then they score there on the 2-on-1. A little bit of a bad pinch by Josh Mahura, which led to the goal by Sam Lafferty. It's funny because Rick Tocchet actually he gave the coach's perspective on what he wanted he would have liked Gudas to do, to stay more in the middle, so to give Bob that left side as well for a better possibility of making that save. But you think about the goals that Toronto scored versus how they didn't score. The Florida Panthers weren't allowing the Toronto Maple Leafs to cycle the puck around and getting into the slot as well. And the other goal for Toronto was a deflection into their own net by Mark Stahl. I mean, I haven't, it's one of those unlucky bounces. I'm not gonna. This isn't a night to pick on Mark Stahl. I mean, this Panthers team is up 3-0. Trying to break up a play, your stick is angled in a different way, and then you're trying to break up a centering feed. But the way the Panthers continue to respond, I mean, the first goal, the second power play unit gets on the ice, and what a game by Aaron Ekblad too. A stretch pass to Anthony Duclair and getting a step on Jake McCabe to finish it, and fooling Ilya Samsonov on that first goal, forehand, backhand, back to forehand. And Anthony Duclair's game has also come alive, my friend.
Yeah, I was a complaint that I think we've spoken about before. In the first couple series he's played, and obviously there was his first one, so I'm gonna let those slide. But he wasn't really showing up. He wasn't really showing confidence. The last series and this series, he's really broken out into his own, and it's like he's never had his Achilles hurt to begin with. I don't know. There's no words for it. It's just he's been magical. He's looking like the player that they signed him to be, and that's what we need right now. And same thing going with Aaron Ekblad. He struggled a little bit last series. I'm pretty sure a bunch of fans, I'll even admit, I wrote an article. I can't speak. I'm sorry. I wrote a piece about a few months ago when he first took the injury. I said, I think he's a shell of himself. I think it might be time to move on. But if he has this turnaround in this second round series, I'll take that all back, because he's what they need right now, and he gets paid a lot of money to do what he does. So he's coming in at the right time.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Anthony Duclair negotiated his own contract as well when it came to his new deal, and he's gonna have 1 year left after this. And also the fact that the Panthers also didn't go to the box as well when it came to that. I mean, the second goal that was deflected off of Mark Stahl's stick and in. Leaf fans complained about Sam Bennett on the hit that concussed Matthew Nyes, and of course the boneheaded cross check, which I will say was boneheaded in game 2, but then the bunting hit up high on Montour that wasn't called as well. You could argue that this could have been only one goal given up to the Toronto Maple Leafs as well, but it was the Toronto Maple Leafs fourth line, that was creating the most pressure on the Florida Panthers. At least it felt that way as far as scoring chances as well. But the Florida Panthers, they had eyes on Austin Matthews. They had all the eyes on Marner, Tavares. I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs went 11 F7D on the night too, of course, with the injury to Nyes, and they were taking a whole bunch of opportunities. I was saying, oh, Sheldon Keefe, keep playing Justin Hall, because he was just creating quite a few turnovers as well, and he's been on the ice for quite a lot of goals against too. But the fact that the Panthers, the highest scoring chances as far as the eye test, it came from their fourth line too. So great to see that they neutralized the superstars.
Yeah, Matthews didn't really have a really good of a chance until about the third period. Tavares and O'Reilly did. I will give credit to O'Reilly. He did a lot of stuff. He was really good in the circle, but yeah, he was pretty much a ghost. Other than that, I think maybe they're just in their heads. It's like they're down 3-0. They're nervous. They don't know what to do, and they're just throwing everything they can get. A lot of these players haven't really been in this situation, other than O'Reilly. No one's really been in a situation where they're on the verge of, okay, we lost both of our games at home. Now we have to come back to Florida and pray to God we pull something out. But it's starting to get alarming. It reminds me from last season when a lot of our top stars couldn't get it done. Duclair, Barkov, Verhaeghe kind of fell asleep in the second round.
Huberdeau,
and well, you know what happened there. But I just think they're, for lack of better words, I think they're depressed, or it's in their heads, and they just kind of shut down because of it. But I think the one player to point out more than anything is not so much Matthews, not so much O'Reilly, not so much Tavares, but Mitch Marner. Like, William Nylander's at least producing chances. What's Marner?
He had 13 shots on goal in the first 2 games. Nylander did.
Exactly. And Marner's coughing up the puck, not making any chances. I just, what are you doing, dude?
Hey, we are definitely fine there. Marner did have 2 shots on goal. The most shots on goal was Eric Gustafsson and Kampf on the night. So not even the superstars for the Maple Leafs doing most of the damage as far as amount of shots. But we're going to transition over to segment number 2. We're going to discuss more about this game. We're going to discuss more about the goaltending, and we're going to discuss more about the vibes from FLA Live Arena on the night. We're going to discuss that next year on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. But first, we're going to tell you all about Indeed. And Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire in all places. We streamline hiring with powerful tools to find you matched candidates. Even better, Indeed is the only job site where you can pay for applications that meet your must-have requirements. Indeed has unbelievable power hiring platforms delivering 4 times more hires than any other job site combined, according to TalentNest in 2019. Join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job at Indeed.com/lockedon. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 job credit at Indeed.com/lockedon. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Segment number 2 here on this Sunday, May 7th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, where the Florida Panthers are coming off a 3-2 overtime win over the Toronto Maple Leafs at home. And like I said in the first segment, Joey, the Panthers never led until they scored the overtime winner against the Leafs. But how funny was it when, and credit to Barkov, he didn't get a point on the goal, but the fact that Barkov was consistently checked, still retrieved the puck, got it back to the point, eventually got it to Gudis' stick, and then his shot bounces off the tush of Carter Verhaeghe and into the net. Hey, Carter Verhaeghe has been clutch in these playoffs, but nowhere did I see or I have that on my bingo card of Carter Verhaeghe scoring a goal with his backside.
If you ever seen The Goon, this is one of the greatest goals I've ever seen him score. When you're on fire, you score goals from pretty much anywhere, and that's what Verhaeghe's proved. There's a reason he has more playoff goals than any other Panther in franchise history. But credit to Barkov, like you said before. I've seen a lot of people complain, oh, he's not showing up on the score sheet. He's not doing this. He's not doing that. I understand the frustrations. There's been a lot of chances. There was one chance in the first period where he really should have tried taking a chance when he was driving towards the net, but he said he tried to feed it to the slot. If it worked out, this might be a different conversation altogether, but you still have to take that chance. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, he did his job today. You know, I was looking at the scorecards. I forget who does them. I do apologize for forgetting your name. But he was actually decently rated today. He does a lot of stuff that doesn't show up on the score sheet, but I'm sorry. He has been showing up a lot more. He's trying to drive the play a little bit more. He's really starting to come into his element, much like Duclair is. And I think he's going to find the back of the net next game. That's how much he's been pushing.
Yeah, 2 goals on 2. You might have 2 goals in the playoffs, but what you see that Barkov does on the defensive end, and more importantly, the Panthers did not go to the box on the night. Question for you, Joey. Have you ever seen the movie Kung Pao Enter the Fist?
I have been dying to see that movie, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, you probably won't get this reference then. So if you were to ask Carter Verhaeghe, hey Carter, how did you score that last goal? You know what he would say?
What would you say?
My ass. So you have to see the movie. You personally have to see the movie to get it. But of course, there are probably people out there who have seen that movie before.
And just started just dying when you said that.
Yeah. So if you're out there and you've seen Kung Pao Enter the Fist, you're welcome for that reference by Betty. So yeah. So let's get back. Let's get before we get too distracted. The Florida Panthers, they were dominating the possession game in the first two periods. I mean, like we spoke about, taking away their speed in the neutral zone, forcing them to the half wall, and really the fact that the Panthers were able to weather the storm in the third period as well. And Segrei Bobrovsky, rebound control was great as well. We're not seeing the juicy rebounds that Segrei Bobrovsky has had in the first 3 years of the contract. But you see there's a point where Matthews had a few opportunities right in front, and then right at the point, and then Segrei Bobrovsky is there to just cover up the puck, and nope, nothing. And there was an opportunity where I believe it was Yarn Crook who was up around the net, and they had an open opportunity, and Aaron Ekblad was there to clear the puck out of the zone as well. So got to give credit to Bobrovsky. Now his save percentage in the series is .938, my friend. So your thoughts on Segrei Bobrovsky?
He's come into his element. He was kind of thrown into the fire in the Boston series, but he's finally understanding what's going on. He's finally playing like the contract he's supposed to be playing for. And it comes at just the right time. And because of that, the team is thriving off it. You can see it with the energy on the bench. You can see with the energy on you can see it's just in the play. They're thriving off of this energy, and I absolutely love it. It was something this team has been needing for a very, very long time, and they're finally getting it. Little too late, but they're getting it.
Yeah, and and with the Panthers and going up against a backup goaltender, actually their third string goaltender, because Matt Murray's not active for the Maple Leafs due to his concussion. But scary moment happened. The Florida Panthers got a power play out of it, didn't score on that one, but they did go 1 for 2 on the night with 1 second left on the power play. We were talking about Duclair earlier on it. So the Panthers, the special teams is coming alive. They continue to play at even strength as well. And just listen, and the fact that Matthew Tkachuk on the night, as far as you didn't need the guys like Matthew Tkachuk to carry the team on the night. Of course, we know how great Brandon Montour has played in these playoffs as well. You didn't need him to carry the team neither. The third line for the Panthers: Lundell, Etulusturinen, Sam Reinhart. Those guys just continue to just give you so much energy for this team. I mean, just going to the Sam Reinhart, Lundell, and Etulusturinen line, Corsi for percentage of over 50%. Their shots on goal were even. Their goals for was a plus, and just everything they're doing. The Lundell's confidence, the fact that they are battling for pucks, getting it down low, and listen, the patience that Sam Reinhart had, where Aaron Ekblad hits him on a stretch pass. Sam Reinhart could have easily went into the zone, but he took a step back and not necessarily went 1-on-5, but entered the zone before any of his other teammates could get set, and playing catch with Anton Lundell. And then, man, what a backhand! Well, not backhand. Yes, it was backhand. Excuse me. Wraparound goal that he had, where he went 5-0 on Joseph Woll, and my goodness, how are you feeling when you saw that game winner by Rhino?
I was scared I wasn't gonna be able to do this because I thought I lost my voice. Probably even though the third line was clicking all night long, I didn't see Rhino getting this. I did not expect that to go the way it went. I thought, all right, we're probably gonna develop, take it to the point, maybe hope for a deflection. I didn't expect the wraparound attempt, and it looked like Joseph Woll completely missed it. Because if you keep watching, it looks like he looks to his right, and he's like, "Where's the puck?" Oh no! And it winds up in the back of the net. And I believe that was. But I mean, cut you off.
Say again?
I believe that was on the forehand. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure it was a forehand goal.
I'm actually looking at the replay as we speak right now. Him and it was on the forehand. Yes, okay. It was. Okay. So because he's a right-handed shot. So Sam Reinhart getting that goal. It's like you see every different contributors for the Panthers doing this. That's the thing. It's not a singular person doing this. You see one different players on that top 9 contributing every single night for this team. And got to give credit to where credit is due with the coaching as well, where now the Florida Panthers, they're 1 win away from advancing to their first Eastern Conference final since 1996. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we're going to give our 3 stars of the game. I'm going to give mine. Joey's going to give his. And we are going to prepare for a wonderful 2 days off before Game 4. We're going to discuss this next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. But first, we're going to tell you all about Built Bar. And are you looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and calories? Then you need tasting bar. You got to try this. What makes Built Bar so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in 100% real chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and cookies and cream. Not sure how Built does it, but these Built Bars are like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they're healthy. 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to get a box. For years, they've been talking about ordering Built Bars at Built.com. And now you can get them at your local Walmart or Sam's Club. So you can get specialty flavors still at Built.com. If you're close to Sam's Club, and run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, puff, and churro puff, you can thank me later. Segment number 3 here on this Sunday, May 7th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, where the Florida Panthers are coming off a 3-2 overtime win over the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, Joey, I know you haven't seen Kung Pao, but have you seen the movie Spaceballs?
Of course, probably one of my favorite movies of all time.
Okay, so yesterday I was eating a raspberry Built Bar, and and you know who would probably like raspberry Built Bars?
I'm gonna say Lone Star.
There you go. No. You have to say it correct.
Lone Star.
Except I'm not gonna zoom into the camera and bump into it. I'm not gonna do that. Like this computer is a little expensive, so I'm not tonight of all nights. But the 3 stars of the game. I brought up my I tweeted my 3 stars of the game for the night, and for the second straight game, I had Anthony Duclair as one of my stars, and also I have Aaron Ekblad up there, and I also have, of course, Sam Reinhart with the game-winning goal. Of course, Duclair consistently generating speed. I mean, I didn't even mention that the Toronto Maple Leafs were unable to maintain Anthony Duclair, that he even drew a penalty in the neutral zone as the Panthers were attempting a breakout pass on a rush. So, and he was consistently behind the Maple Leafs. I believe that was Morgan Riley that went to the box. But Aaron Ekblad, of course, two points on the night, and of course Reinhart with the game winner on the night. Who are your 3 stars of the night, Joey?
I'm actually going to go with what the media said, because other than Ekblad, I mean, I can't really argue against anything else. Got to go with Bobrovsky as my third. He just played like a brick wall all night. He kept them alive in very desperate situations. His rebound control, like we talked about, was on point. Second star, Duclair had probably the biggest goal or one of the biggest goals in the game. He got the comeback jump start for Florida. He told them, "Hey, we're not out of this quite just yet," and ended up getting them the game winner by my opinion, the first star in Sam Reinhart, because when you're play the hero, you have to get first star. It
Yes.
doesn't matter what the situation is. They're giving them he just gave this team a 3-0 series lead with a chance to break out the brooms or the leaf blower, whichever you prefer, on Wednesday.
And let's talk about one more thing. The Panthers last year, President's Trophy winners. The comeback cats was a thing. I believe, if I might have lost count of it. It's been a little while. I mean, last year they had 4, maybe 5 comeback wins of 3 goals. And of course, this year during the regular season, if they were down 3 goals, they were done for most times. And then the fact that it took them until late January to get their first win when falling behind in going into the third period. Of course, the Boston game on January 28th was the season changer. Of course, the second season changing game was that road game against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Of course, you mentioned Keith Tkachuk earlier going off on the Panthers on the radio, and Paul Maurice going off on the bench as well in between a video review for a goal. But the Panthers, the fact that they can play in these different situations consistently. I mean, they erased a 2-goal deficit in game 2 within 47 seconds of each other. I mean, it took a little bit in game 3, but in this game, I never felt that the Toronto Maple Leafs were gonna go on an extended lead, and I never felt that the Panthers were not going to get that game-winning goal just based on the body language. I mean, let's for example, how loose the Panthers were. The TNT crew even showed how they introduced the starting lineups. The Panthers were very loose. Nick Cousins was introducing the lineups. He was very pumped up. And then you see the other side of things with Sheldon Keefe. You could, their body language was just like they looked defeated. They looked defeated and just all business. And of course, we know what comes with the media pressure of Toronto, but also the fact that the Panthers are playing with house money. Don't tell the players that. They will disagree. They expect to be here, but the fact that the Panthers, they are never out of a game, and they and one word too, believing.
That's to quote Journey, you don't stop believing, especially in these playoffs. But you say it yourself, you can see it on the ice there. If you can tell that they're playing with a ton of confidence. Even with the Sam Bennett between the legs chance, if that goes in, by the way, that stadium explodes. But the fact that they're trying to pull stuff like that tells them we're full of confidence. We know what we can do to get it done. And like you said before, when they were down 1-0, when they were down 2-1, they didn't go to the bench like, oh crap, well, here we go, back to square one, gotta do this all over again. They made it seem like they were never even down in the first place. They made it seem like they were about to score another game-winning goal. They understood the assignment 100%, and this is why they're at where they're at now. It was probably Tkachuk, Keith, or Paul Maurice that really just laid down the line. Whatever it was, it's magical. To go from being swept in the second round to about to sweep another team, hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, on Wednesday is not something I thought was going to happen, but it's happening nonetheless. And there's no words. There's just no words.
I also think of the mental side of things too. If you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, you're on the road and 2 days off, not in your house, in a hotel room. But also, if you're on the other side of things, you don't have to go home to your family. I'm not going to pull what Mike Milbury did in the COVID bubble. If you guys want to look that up, you guys can. Not going to say it on the show, but they are away from their families. They are together as a team, but also they have a lot of time to just be in their heads too. If you're thinking that from the Florida Panthers side of things, it's like you are on the road and you are down 3-0 as well, and that can be dangerous too as well because the 2 days off. I mean, it didn't. Of course, the Panthers won with 2 days off too, but also you think about 2 days off with a chance to eliminate the Leafs, but thankfully for the Panthers, you have 4 chances to do it. You just have to win one, and it's only happened 4 times in NHL history. Most recently with the San Jose Sharks and the Los Angeles Kings. But you have one more chance to do it, and the Panthers, they got to deliver that knockout punch on Wednesday night.
Absolutely, but when you're down like this, I mean, of course, we can both agree there is a ton to do in South Florida. You got beaches, you got clubs, you got God knows what else down there. But even with all of that, you're down 3-0, and for 2 days and even game day, you're gonna have that sitting in your head for a very, very long time. You could be walking your dog or going to the beach to get your mind off things, and then out of nowhere, crap, we are down 3-0. Our season could be over on Wednesday. And they try to see if they can handle that pressure tonight, and they just couldn't do it. I don't know what's going on I know I said before, but I don't know what's going on with the Leafs, because every year they're projected to be one of the strongest teams in the league, and then the playoffs start, and they look like a completely different team, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and so much for this one show from from Canada. I don't. It's like the breakfast something. I forget the name of it. Calling the Florida Panthers an irrelevant franchise and all that stuff. Talking about the fans and the attendance and all that stuff. But the Panthers packed that house. At least from the TV angle, it seemed loud in there too. And even from the lower bowl seats, I didn't see the Panthers fans outnumbered there. I mean, thankfully for the basketball side of things, the Knicks didn't outnumber the Heat fans there neither. So it was a very, from what I saw, a very raucous crowd at FLA Live Arena on the night. And if you're a Leafs fan, do you even consider going to Game 4 now? And I believe that there's a possibility that it could even be more into the Panthers' favor as far as representation in South Florida. And listen, the way you create a fan base is by winning, obviously. How I became a fan of the Panthers was when they made the playoffs in 2012. That's where it all started for me. And honestly, if you're listening, for the listeners, if you're listening to the show for the first time, or if you've recently listened to the show for the last few weeks, first of all, I want to tell you guys, welcome. Like, you guys are welcome, and hockey is great. And following this team as well, you guys are now seeing how exciting this is as a game. And yes, when you don't win, I mean, just ask the Marlins as well. They haven't had much success since winning.
Why are you giving me those flashbacks, Mondo? Come on, man.
Yeah. But I'm trying to make a point here, but it just goes to show what happens when you're winning and you're a constant contender. And this is 4 years in a row. Two straight years of making it into the second round. And now 1 win away from the conference final. And man, does it feel so good. I mean, I was 3 when the Panthers first made it in 96. And it just feels good to hear on social media and around South Florida that the talk of the talk of this sport too. So, and you and I have been following this for a while. Of course, we have our chat as well with the Panther Parkway guys, but it's just great. I just want to finish off on that, and I want to say thank you to everyone in South Florida. Of course, credit to the Panthers, the guys on the ice for doing this, but credit to you guys as well for packing the house and just spreading the good news about this as a sport too, because we get a bad rap. We do, but I think after this, it's definitely South Florida. It's good. I think that the fans, I think that we are, I hope, at least this is a hope. I think that they're going to get recognized more for packing that house.
Absolutely. On top of that, you have the War Memorial being built in Fort Lauderdale. I believe it's supposed to be finished either next year or the year after. I'm not entirely sure.
Fall. According to Matthew Caldwell.
This year. Perfect. So you have that being built. You have the All-Star game here earlier this year, which if anyone was there, I had a great time. I even got to bump into Mondo and we had a great time. We played giant air hockey together. It was great. That's probably one of my most favorite experiences of that. The market is really starting to grow over there. I know everyone complains, oh, the stadium is in the middle of nowhere, or why isn't it in Miami, or why isn't it in Fort Lauderdale? That time will come. But we're building something great here in South Florida, and the team is finally competitive. It may not seem that way earlier in the year, but this is something to build off of for a very, 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 very long time. And I'm in absolute shock that I'm sitting here having this conversation that we're 1 win away from the Eastern Conference Finals, which I wasn't even born when they actually went. I was born that year, but I wasn't even a thought, I think, by then.
And hopefully they get that 1 win. They have 4 tries to do it, and it'll be a big celebration, especially here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, if they do, in fact, accomplish that. But, Joey, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this live edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, another post-game victory edition of the show. And thank you to the listeners, as always, for joining on the live stream as well. So, Joey, tell us where to follow you online, and tell us more about your work with the Hockey Writers.
Absolutely. You can follow me at Mr._Joester. I post articles once a week on thehockeywriters.com, specifically talking about the Panthers. They're a great, great, great website. They've been recognized by multiple writing outlets. They're a great source if you want news or opinions. And I've been very happy to be one of their writers for their past 3 years. And before we close off the podcast, I just want to say one thing. It said that Toronto, I completely forget his name, but so that one Toronto media person or Toronto analyst or whatever you want to call it, whoever sits at the podium for news stations, who's irrelevant now?
Great way to end it, my friend. Thank you so much, Joey, and I hope to see you next time, my friend.
Yes, sir. Have a great one.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey with Flip Livingstone and Steve Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. And everydayers, make sure to come back on tomorrow's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Chances are we could have a special guest on this show who spends every single day with the team, and we could have a series check-in with this person. So come back tomorrow. We'll be talking more about the Panthers being up 3-0 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm Armando Velez with Joey Ganzi. And you've been listening to the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.